Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 987B, and today's date is June 2nd, 2016, and the title of the episode is U.S. Government Agencies Are Continually Acquiring Military-Like Equipment. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, as every day passes, it is getting worse and worse for Obamacare. This is a complete disaster. Now, the 13th co-op has announced it will be closing ahead of the 2017 open enrollment period. Ohio's InHealth Mutual announced late last week that it's closing its doors and it's going to liquidate everything they have. They enroll about 22,000 consumers, and customers will have about 60 days to select a new plan on the federal exchanges. And we are seeing that most of these state exchanges, they're imploding on each other. The whole system was designed to bring in money from the people to the health insurance companies, to the government through these penalties and taxes that are intertwined in Obamacare. But don't worry. They have spent billions of dollars of taxpayer money on this program. And if the insurance companies don't make a profit, they have a bailout rider in Obamacare, so they never lose. The only people that lose is the people of the United States. So far, what we're seeing here, there is a total of about $1.3 billion that has been lost to the 13 co-ops closing. Now, the State Department, they got caught up in a scandal 3 weeks ago when the State Department was accused of purposely altering a briefing video to remove a portion of a discussion about the Iran nuclear talks. The missing clip involved the spokeswoman Jen Psaki, who asked in 2013 whether officials ever lie to the public to protect national security interests, and she indirectly confirmed that this does happen. Now, the video was edited. They removed this. Now, of course, when the U.S. government was caught, they said, well, this was a glitch. We're really sorry about this, but glitches do happen. Well, every time the U.S. government gets caught and the public is saying, hey, wait, what just happened here? They call it a glitch. And if they don't get caught, they don't say anything. And this is another confirmation that the government, they continually lie to the people. They think it's in the best interest of the people. But when I read the Constitution and the rights of the people, it says nothing about lying to the people. I can't find it in there. What I'm seeing is that the government is supposed to work with the people, support the people, be a part of the people. They're not supposed to be a separate entity that reports to central banks, corporations, foreign governments. And we can see at this point, if this is their mindset, the entire government needs to go. And this is their mindset. Now, there was a study conducted which contains about 47 countries, and it reports that throughout Europe, we see a lot of European countries filtering the internet. And this is a problem because the EU have certain laws in place where they're not supposed to be filtering the internet because this is a violation of freedom of speech. And it's a threat to freedom of speech. But there's many countries out there that do this. I mean, one of them is Turkey, which has about 110,000 websites which are blocked. And we can see they continually block YouTube, Twitter. And there are other countries like Spain, France. They look at certain websites that goes to their boards that they created and they make a decision saying, okay, we're going to block this. Now, of course, what they're saying is this is in the best interest of the people. We're trying to keep terrorism away from you. We're trying to keep you safe. But again, I say, let the people decide what they want to look at and what they don't want to look at. Not our government people. They should not be making these decisions. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression is just that, the freedom to do and say whatever you want. And if people don't like it, you don't have to look at it. Plain and simple. Now, as this economic collapse comes closer and closer, and people really feel it. Now, there are certain people that are feeling it right now. There are a lot of people out there looking for jobs saying, I don't understand what's going on. Many people are going through the collapse right now, and there's others that feel like there's nothing wrong. Now, in 2008, when the crisis was occurring, where I lived, I knew many people were like, this is awful, I have no job, I just lost my job. And other people were secure in their jobs. So it was like half and half, where there were half of the people feeling this great recession and the other half saying, I'm fine right now. Worrying about what might happen, but not really feeling it. And we're seeing the same thing happen right now, where many people still have jobs, and those people that are getting laid off now are feeling the pain. And as we get closer and closer to this collapse, we see that the United States agencies, like the Post Office, like the EPA, like the Department of Education, Social Security Administration, and many others, they are purchasing military-like equipment. And they're receiving SWAT teams. The Department of Agriculture is receiving a SWAT team. The Railroad Retirement Board is receiving a SWAT team. And all of this is being done because they realize when this collapse comes, people are going to be upset. There's going to be riots. There's going to be protests. And we see other agencies like the Postal Service. They're soliciting proposals for small arms and ammunition. Social Security requesting about 174,000 rounds of hollow point bullets. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, 46,000 rounds of hollow point ammo. The EPA, SWAT team. What do they need all of this for? They don't need it for their jobs. They don't need it for their agencies. They need it to protect the government offices. Now, most of these people, I don't know what they're going to do when things go south. Are they really going to stand up there and use these weapons? Most likely not. They're probably going to want to be with their families and saying, okay, I'm out. But we can see what the government is trying to do. We see the direction they're headed in. And we can see just from the White House where they're putting spikes on the top of fences, where they're going to raise the fence by 5 feet, putting in buffer zones, hiring private police departments to patrol in front of certain buildings. The Federal Reserve has their own private police department. Actually, I should say their own private, army. And we see right now that as we get closer and closer for this entire system falling apart, they want to be prepared for this. And this is why we're seeing all of this right now. Now, out in Brazil, we realize that the U.S. government, they staged this coup d'etat there. And we know that Temer flew up, met some of the government officials here in the United States to plan this coup d'etat. And what we're seeing right now is that the U.S. government was hoping that this was going to be a peaceful transition. It would be nice and easy. And we can, set up the private Western Central Bank, put the dollar on the oil, all their natural resources, and we can prop up the dollar. But what we're seeing right now is that this peaceful transition, well, that went south very, very quickly. We see that the new president, Temer, he didn't even last a month when all of a sudden people started coming out and saying, okay, we want him out of here. We don't want him as the president. We want him removed. And we can see right now there are people out on the streets. Protesters are very angry. We see that people are saying that he is not legitimate. Pepe Escobar is out there saying that Temer's presidency has been illegitimate from the beginning. I've defined the Temer interim government in the first 2 days, in fact, as walking dead government. He was already illegitimate from the start. And we can see right now that things are not going well whatsoever, and we're going to have to watch this situation very, very carefully. We see 3 U.S. B-52 heavy bombers. They're going to be flying from the U.S., from the Air Force Base in North Dakota on Thursday, which is today, and they're going to be flying to UK's Fanford Station to train and integrate with U.S. allies. And we can see right now they're doing this right on the doorstep of Russia. And we can see that they're continually doing this, and they're trying to provoke and poke at Russia every single time. Now, we see that whatever the U.S. is doing out in Libya, it is not working. Libya's former Prime Minister, Dr. Mohammed Jibril, he has become the first senior leader to say, well, this new Western-backed government, it doesn't have a very good chance of surviving. And he's saying that the failure of this government is in the lack of support, not in the lack of support of governments around the world. They have that support. Lack of support of the people of Libya, because this is a non-elected government body that was put into this country. So the people didn't have a choice of what they wanted. And they do not see this government as legitimate. And this is a major problem. And this is why the U.S. government central bankers are having problems all throughout the Middle East, because the people don't want these puppet governments, because they are not representing the people. The people didn't choose these governments. The puppet masters chose for the people. That's not democracy. And we know the U.S. government central bankers continually tell us, oh, you need to have democracy, freedom. This is why the people hate us. No, the people hate us is because you're doing the opposite and you're invading their countries. We see the central bank of Libya with the elected government in Libya, not the UN-backed government. Well, they're preparing to circulate a new currency, which is printed in Russia. And what they're saying is they're going to be issuing the 200 million new dinars into circulation. And the official Libyan currency is really printed in the UK. So what we're seeing right now is the currency that is backed by the U.S. government and the coalition forces, that's printed in the UK. And the elected government decided to go with Russia to print their currency. The U.S. Embassy and Western diplomats in Libya have called the new currency counterfeit. And we can see right now things are not going well in Libya. This is why the U.S. government central bankers, they're getting ready, prepared to go into Libya. They're just waiting for the green light. Everything is ready to go. They're trying to give the unity government a chance to work there, and it is failing quite quickly. They were hoping the unity government would get in there, the parliament would vote for them, they would invite all the coalition forces in, but we don't see this happening at this point. We see Turkey's Erdogan, he is out there saying that he is okay with the U.S. as they attack the northern Syria section, because he's saying most of the moderate rebels that they're using, they're not Kurdish, they're just Arabs. So we're okay with that. No, what he's really saying is that they want the U.S. and the moderate rebels, doesn't matter if they're Kurdish or Arab, doesn't make a difference. They want to control the northern part of Syria. And we see right now that the corporate media, they're continually reporting how the Islamic State fighters, they've captured the territory from Syrian rebels near the Turkish border. And we need to really start thinking about this for a second here and use common sense. The moderate rebels are backed by the U.S. government, the U.K. government, the rest of the coalition forces. And they're telling us that the Islamic State is a terrorist group. And no country's backing them. We're going to go with their story here. So the moderate rebels who receive weapons from the coalition forces, they're having a tough time fighting the Islamic State, who is getting their weapons from who? Because we have all the advanced countries with incredible weaponry being delivered to the moderate rebels. And the Islamic State is getting their weapons from who? This is why the corporate media makes no sense when they put out these stories. This is why the U.S. government is losing the narrative at this point, because they can't explain this. It makes no sense. They've been bombing this terrorist group for over a year and couldn't get anywhere. Russia steps in, bombs it for a couple months, and destroys almost half of their forces. So when we look at this and we use common sense, what do we see? We see that the U.S. and the coalition forces, they back the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, the moderate rebels, you name it. They're using them to go after Assad. Now, we have Russia and the Syrian armed forces moving into Raqqa. We have the U.S. fighting in Raqqa with special op forces and the Free Syrian Army and Al-Nusra and Al-Qaeda. And both forces are going to meet. What is going to happen at this point? Will this kick off World War III? Will there be some type of accident? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Now, something very interesting. CNN Money is out there, and they are saying that the Federal Reserve is getting hit quite a bit with cyber attacks since 2011. And they have listed more than 50 incidences where there were unauthorized access to the Federal Reserve System. And they're saying that the Federal Reserve is facing a barrage of cyber attacks. Okay, let's go with that. Then we have NATO. They're about to declare cyberspace an operational domain of war. Now, back in 2011, Washington announced its regards to cyberspace as saying that if we are attacked through cyber attacks, it is the same thing as a physical attack, and the U.S. can go after whoever it is and declare war. NATO is doing the same thing this July, where they're going to get together in Poland, and they're going to declare that this is an operational war zone. At the same time, the story comes out that the Federal Reserve is getting hit with cyber attacks. You think they're planning something here to show this is why the economy has come down? It's starting to look that way. We're seeing that with the travel warning that the United States gave throughout this whole entire summer, Europe is bracing for more attacks, and they're saying there's going to be another attack coming very soon. They're saying there's ISIS sleeper cells that are planted in all the different areas. They uncovered one in Germany, saying there was a plot to unleash suicide bombers in a metro station, that they believe there's many sleeper cells all throughout Europe, and this could just be a disastrous scenario coming up. And we're going to have to watch this situation very carefully, because we know what they're going to use all of this for. They're going to use this to explain away why they need more forces in Syria, why they need to go after Assad, why they need to take control of the situation. This has been planned out for quite a while right now, and they're pushing their plan forward. Now, I just wanted to mention something about the UCLA shooter, who is identified as Mainak Sakar, and it's being reported that he killed a woman in Minnesota, and he also had a kill list, and he killed a professor, and he was going to be killing other people. And we're starting to look at this, and my first question is, was he on medication? Because it seems like he had mental problems. Secondly, of course, he killed himself. This is the way these false flags go. And he was in an area which was a complete gun-free zone. They have many, many laws about owning, carrying, using weapons, but we know these laws are meaningless. They use it to trick people to thinking that they're safe. And what we're seeing right now is these type of scenarios are always the same, where the person comes in, they run around, they kill individuals, they end up killing themselves or the police kills them. They never mention if they're on medication. If they do mention medication, it's never followed up on. Because this is the main problem. Just like if there was a driver driving a car drinking alcohol completely drunk and hits a person. If you notice, they always go back and say, oh, the person was drunk. That was the problem. And now this person is responsible. They don't say the car is responsible. Here we have this person who most likely was on medication, running around shooting people, and they blame the gun. Not the person, not the medication the person was on. And we can see right now, most likely this is going to be used for their gun agenda. We already see stories coming up of why they need more gun laws. This is why people shouldn't have weapons. But actually, if people had weapons there, they might have stopped this, because we've seen this time and time again. Actually, he could have come in with a knife or any other type of weapon and done the exact same thing. So we can see at this point, all of these incidences always seem to follow the same exact pattern. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.